We have recently considered the 4 T's that outline possible risk response options. The 4 available options are to either take, treat, transfer, or terminate the risk. While the take and terminate options are usually easier to understand, let's now turn our attention to the treat and transfer options. During the discussion, it might also be useful for you to reference the risks assessed in the Western Savannah case. If, for example, you are considering risk treatment as your preferred option, you would also need to consider cost versus benefit, resourcing availability, and schedule-related issues before you decide on this course of action. If you do decide to treat the risk, you will need to gather more information by asking the following questions. First, what is the initial action and costs involved for your chosen treatment strategy? Second, what benefits might the treatment provide and what is its likelihood of success? Finally, what resources might be required to ensure effective treatment of the risk and its impact on the schedule and budget of acquiring and using those resources? Once your information gathering is complete, you will then plan a risk treatment process. To do this effectively, you will need to determine the level of treatment plan based on the level of each assessed risk. Risk treatment plans will vary depending on whether you have assessed the risk as high, medium, or low. For example, a risk with a high rating must have a treatment plan, while a risk with a low rating may not require a treatment plan. Effective risk treatment relies on attaining commitment from key stakeholders and developing realistic objectives and timelines for implementation, so that the impact on the project objectives is minimized. Another important aspect that you will need to carefully document is the treatment plan, which outlines your approach to treating the risk. Within this plan, it is advised that any relationships or interdependencies with other risks should also be highlighted. You will need to specify a date or a trigger when risk treatment will commence and when it will conclude. The time frame should be realistic and appropriate. Given the information on the Western Savannah case study, what might suitable timeframes be to treat identified risks, considering the hotel and related infrastructure is to be completed within 2 years? So in summary then, when implementing the risk treatment plan, ensure that adequate resources are available and define a timeframe, responsibilities, and a method for monitoring progress against the treatment plan. Physically check the treatment implemented reduces the residual risk level, and in order of priority, undertake ongoing remedial measures to reduce the risk. Let's now review the second response option, which is transferring risks. Making the decision to transfer an identified risk means you are shifting the burden of the risk, so to speak, onto someone else. As a project or risk manager, you may practically transfer risk in several different ways. One option is making use of an outsourcing strategy, which means engaging another organization or contractor to take over the particular activity. Service organizations or subcontractors with a specialized focus will usually have their own forms of risk assurance and controls. Bear in mind, transferring risk only works for you if the contractor is in a better position to manage the risk than what you are. Another quite popular option, particularly for finance-oriented folk, is taking out insurance coverage. Insurance is probably the most common method of risk transfer from organizations to specialized insurance companies against unforeseen events. Currency insurance would also include hedging against currency fluctuations by buying forward exchange cover contracts. There are a range of insurance options available to you, and you need to assess each option to make sure you have the right type and level of coverage. As with all the steps in the risk management process, it is important you keep detailed records of what decisions you have made about treating risks, the given context, what actions need to be performed by whom, and what deadlines or criteria you have set for ensuring they are done properly and on time.